police force again. There's a point Amerix raised, and I agree with it totally. We are going through the third and final liberation. And all Kenyans need to understand that. This is the third and final liberation, the economic liberation of man. We got our first liberation in 1963 when we attained independence. And that was purely a case of black people, Kenyans, electing their own to lead them. Then beyond that, we never got full political independence. And that is why the Matibas, the Rubias, Orengos, Railas, Muites went out to the streets to agitate for the repeal of Section 2A. They got those political rights, and I do believe, as guided by my party leader, that our political quest was settled in the year 2010 when we got our new constitution and we established the systems of government and we established even a Bill of Rights for the first time in our constitution. What we are going through now is there's been an attempt to claw back on those political rights. But those attempts, as you witnessed from even the Supreme Court decision in 2017 nullifying Uhuru Kenyatta's theft, and certain decisions that have come from the courts have been very progressive. But don't for a moment think that the judiciary as a whole is open to this. Of course, there are some elements in the judiciary who will still try to claw back and try to eat back on people's rights. You witnessed, for example, when we were doing the housing levy case last year, and Justice Tande very courageously issued an order to stop the collection of that levy. The Court of Appeal followed up, and even when they had the appeal, they said, nope, this levy is illegal, you cannot collect it. But William Ruto and his people proceeded to collect the housing levy using what they were calling the Affordable Housing Act. Now, remember this. At the time when the levy was introduced in Parliament through the finance bill, there was no, and the court stopped it. They had collected money almost 6 months into the financial year. They retained that money. They should be returning that money to all Kenyans who paid it. So that even if their new act were to pass, the collections should be in the coming financial year, not backwards. And look at what they did to Justice Tande. Within 2 weeks of a decision, she was transferred to Malindi to become the judge. They are removed from the Constitutional Division here in Nairobi. And they hope that they are going to get judges who will be acting as gatekeepers when action is brought against executive excesses. We cannot relent. We will follow all these judges and make sure that they live true to our constitution. The final point I want to make, Amerix, is this. No, maybe before the final one. Let me tie it to what you said. In this citizens' conversation, we must, at the point of electing a new leadership, make sure that we are also clear on the system of governance. Are we being undermined by the party system so that when people are elected, they are more beholden to their political party than to the people who elected them? Look at William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza members of parliament. First, they go to parliament. Kenyans give them their views. 99% of the memorandum and the people appear before them tell them this finance bill is bad, reject it. They ignore. In fact, Kimani of Molo has the audacity to say we will not even touch that question of motor vehicle circulation tax. That thing must be in that bill. They proceed to pass it. Then upon the people of Kenya putting pressure and William Ruto, even in people invading parliament, William Ruto decides to renege. Then he calls those members of parliament, and you see all of them clapping behind him, gleefully happy, and saying that that's a good decision he has made to reject. Why did we have to lose more than 39 Kenyans to get to that space? Anybody who is occupying a position of leadership, a position in trust, to whom at least 39 Kenyans must die before his wrong can be corrected, does not deserve to sit in any public office in this country. Those members of parliament are cast, and I cast them. And I say this, Kenyans must continue denying them audience in whatever space they appear, because they are no longer representing the collective will of the people who voted them. And I want to urge us, sometimes I see some of our compatriots attacking those who voted for Kenya Kwanza or those who voted for some of these MPs. The fact that somebody voted for Kenya Kwanza or an MP, don't take it that he is now beholden to that person. When somebody has withdrawn his vote, his support, we urge them to join the movement, because our enemy is not that person who voted. Maybe he was misled. He was lied to on election day. But now he has seen the folly of his ways and he has seen through. It's even encouraged that when somebody recalls his vote and says that this MP is no longer representing what I voted for, that is a person that becomes an ally and you help him in his fight against his MP. So let's avoid cross-party or cross-voting attacks against each other. Our common enemy is William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza. Those are the people who have put us in this pain. The final point I want to make, and I hope my leader, Jimmy, I heard Amerix, you try mentioning him if he could join. The question that we are facing as a country, which William Ruto and his people are trying to avoid dealing with, is the question of debt. These people took debt from the year 2014. Part of that debt didn't land in Kenya. I'll pick the Eurobonds, for example. They took 2 billion US dollars Eurobond. At that time, Jacob Juma, there's a gentleman, I think it's called Owiti, and even David Ndii was in that group. ODM convened them, and they went through to trace the movement of that money. And Raila at that point even threatened to lead Kenyans to storm Treasury building, to release where the money went. Upon that threat, Treasury released the first proof of payment. They released the RTGS form, which showed 1 billion Kenya US dollars was used to settle part of a loan that would be taken by Kibaki, and part of that money was paid into a CBK account. Correct, accounted for. The second part, 1 billion US dollars, at that time is almost 100 billion Kenya shillings. When they demanded for the information to be released, they released a form. It's in the public domain to date. And that form shows money moving from JP Morgan to another bank, and the account to which it is going in Qatar is redacted. You cannot see the name of the person to whom that money is being made. That is 1 billion US dollars in your debt books. In other words, somebody went to America or to the European market and took a Eurobond of 2 billion US dollars in your name. He made you to be responsible for paying that debt. And he did not apply that money to any project in Kenya. He did not procure parliamentary approval for that money. But what the Kenyan people ended up with is a responsibility to pay for that money. We did pay for that money sometimes, I think it was in end of June. And at that time now, when we were paying for it, we refinanced it. We took a fresh one at an interest rate of 10.35%. At the time of taking in 2014, the interest rate was 6%. And there are so many other such loans which are taken in our name. If you go to our PFM Act, it is very clear. You can only borrow money for a project. You only borrow money for development. You are seeing Kenyan government every day issuing, every week they issue treasury bonds and bills. They're telling you this bond and bill is going to finance which project. You are just saying 20 billion floated. People take out that loan and they come back to you. When the bank takes these loans, they are using your money, using my money that I have deposited in the bank. Then they go to my government to take a treasury bill or bond that is not pegged on any project. Government takes it to eat it. Once they eat that money, the government comes to me and you and collects an exorbitant interest rate to pay for that loan. Now, interest rate is at 16%. When they take that interest rate of 16%, they do two things. Number one, you are burdened with the high interest rate that you're going to pay from your tax money. And number two, even if you wanted to do your own project as an individual, they know here wanted to go and expand his food business. He goes to the bank tells him, they know, I will only give you a loan at an interest rate of 22%. Why? Because the bank prefers to lend money to government because government will pay for that money and will come back to the people of Kenya as a sovereign to cushion it. They know it's seen as now a credit risk. In fact, you are not even wanted in that banking space. Now, many Kenyans cannot access capital because of government borrowing illegally in the domestic market, burdening Kenyans with high interest rates and denying them an opportunity to even borrow for their own private ventures. That is why you are not seeing any development. What today, as we speak, what is stimulating development in this country? If government is not doing any project, where's the flow of money? When I'm not putting up expanding my law firm or somebody is not expanding his business, where's the flow of money? Because I go to a bank to take a loan to put up a fish farm in Kisumu. That bank will tell me they want an interest rate of 20%, 25%. Why? Because government is borrowing at 16%, 17%. They rather lend to government. Now, I cannot access that credit. The government money that was borrowed was used to Fuliza, to eat. Was not used to build a road, to build a bridge, to build a dam. It was all eaten. So we must be very careful as a country and decide, number one, any money that has been borrowed in our names that was not done in a way that conforms with our laws, that money, we have no responsibility to pay for it. It is an odious debt. If we go that route, and I do remember when I was in Mozambique, when President Nyusi had just been elected, there was something that had been taken similar to our Eurobond. It was called tuna bond. Again, $2 billion that was taken in the name of the people of Mozambique. The money never came into Mozambique. They were only told to pay for it. So some public-spirited members of the public, civil society groups, went to court and they sued the Attorney General and their parliament. Their parliament was saying that tuna bond is legal. We must pay for it. The AG was saying that tuna bond must be paid for. But the people of Mozambique were saying no. Where was parliamentary approval for tuna bond to be taken? Bring it to court. None existed. The court in Mozambique said that loan is illegal, it is odious, and the people of Mozambique will not have to pay for it. Do you know what happened? Credit Suisse collapsed. They had to pay that money. So even us, we must look into our debt books and say, anybody who took money in our name without following our laws, you took money that didn't apply to any project. It is not the responsibility of the people of Kenya to pay for that loan. We must unshackle ourselves from this yoke of oppression, both internationally and locally. Internationally, they are the Eurobonders, that is the Paris Club, the London Sovereign Group. Locally are the domestic banks. We must start asking them, when you are taking a loan from the Kenyan government, what is the project that loan is funding, number one? Number two, where is the parliamentary approval for that loan that allows government to float a bond or a bill? You saw William Ruto last week on TV when he was saying, because you rejected finance bill, I will now borrow 1 trillion Kenya shillings. I mean, how can someone casually commit the people of Kenya to take a loan of 1 trillion Kenya shillings? He's not even told you what loan, what project does he want to fund? He's not even told you where's the parliamentary approval, but he's telling you, I'm going to take a loan of 1 trillion Kenya shillings. You people of Kenya, you must pay for it. You must tell him, no, we are a country of the rule of law. The sovereign people of Kenya have even said in rejecting the finance bill, if you think that this country will only develop through loans, then suspend that development. We don't need it at this particular point because you are taking these loans and applying it to things that don't matter to the people. You are not building any new road. You are not building any new bridge. You are not building any new dam. So we must be able to call him to order. Another thing that I must mention, this space that we occupy, we must jealously guard it. When William Ruto came to space last week, he was not coming to space because he loves this space. No, he was coming here to take it over. They've been the kings of the streets because on the streets they are able to manipulate our young people. They are able to pay some people to disrupt, to control the political conversation. But on the social media, he does not have control over this particular platform. This is a citizen's platform, and this platform must be guarded and protected to posterity. Any politician who will come here or who will come into leadership in this country, even myself who has said I should be compared to Rigathi Gachagua, I believe I'm a better deputy president than him, if the time came. That politician must be told, you are not coming here to be our boss. You are coming into public space to be our servant, and you must be reporting back to the Kenyan people on space. You must hear that bullshit that they tell you every day. You must hear when they tell you fag off. You must hear it. You must respond to everything they're saying, whether you like it or not. I may not agree to the use of a particular type of language, but the Kenyan people who have put you in an office have a right to express themselves in the best way that they know how. If somebody's best way to express himself to say fuck off, then you must fuck off and listen to him. You must give him the respect to express himself, and you must do that which you believe. is going to give him dignity when it comes to their governance. And finally, the point that you raised, Amerix, I say this. We must focus on the prize. The prize is a better governance. Kenya Kwanza may not give us that governance. And I urge our people, do not despair. When you see a regime using all the arsenals and all the tools that have been used before, just know that you're doing the right thing. They started with the police. The Kenyan people overwhelmed the police with love. They tried tear gas, they tried water cannons. It was overwhelming. They went for the army. You are told now the army is out on the streets. The Kenyan people are overwhelming the army with love. Because these are people who are just appearing with water bottles and flags, saying, we are fighting for a better Kenya. Now they've resorted to the last arsenal that's normally used by falling regimes, is to start getting goons to infiltrate, try to buy some who are perceived to be the spear leaders or the ringleaders of the movement. It was that is not a leader, Ahmed is not a leader, Deno is not a leader, Wanyakuni is not a leader, Otero was not a leader. There's nobody who is leading this thing. So they are finding it difficult to infiltrate. They will take one today, Osama today, but tomorrow a new Osama is going to be born. You'll find another, in fact, you kill one Osama, you take one Osama, 100 Osamas appear immediately to fill that gap. So we must guard this space jealously. Don't even spend too much energy crying over the fallen soldiers who will have been bought by the regime. Our tears should only be reserved for those of our Kenyans who've been killed, the Rex, the Basilisk, the Dr. Margarets, who've died when fighting for a better Kenya for all of us. So let us please focus and let us make sure that we do not relent. And to our members of parliament, some of them who may be on this platform, you must now understand one thing. Power is in the hands of the people. Don't vote as a robot, that something is brought before you and you just vote. Sometimes you may have made a mistake. And I always say, when somebody makes a mistake, I'll forgive you the first time. But your conduct post that mistake. If, for example, the conflict of interest bill that was passed by Senate, if some members feel that they never fully understood it, nothing stops you from bringing an amendment bill or even introducing amendments that furthers the good of the people. Take it back to Senate. Let us stop spending too much energy explaining ourselves out there for actions that you've done on the floor of the House and you're not correcting it. I, as a person, I have no faith at all in our parliament. In fact, where I sit, I believe when the Kenyan people occupied parliament, we were done with the parliament. And nothing will come out of that parliament that is for the benefit of the people of Kenya. We are done with it. Our next phase was to occupy State House, which William Ruto stopped by bringing the army and and goons to infiltrate. An occupation of State House does not in any way mean an insurgency or a coup. It simply means the Kenyan people want a civil conversation on the manner in which they are going to be led. And let us not, when people say, I'm going to occupy parliament, we must, or I'm going to occupy State House, we must be very careful not to start selling fear or encouraging the police or the army to use guns. When somebody says we are going to occupy parliament, what you should be doing is asking the police, asking the parliamentary leadership, can you make sufficient arrangements for the group that is coming, that there's security for the members, there's security for the protester, who has the right under Article 37 to protest. When he comes to parliament, he's given a chance, he's given an opportunity to express himself. If you are going to set the parameter to be the gates of parliament, set it to be the gates of parliament. If it's going to be the lawns of parliament, set it to be the lawns of parliament. But you cannot say, if you come to parliament, we will kill you. And to say this, for these policemen who are currently being misused by the political administration to cause these deaths, I've been in a case, the Baby Pendo case, and in that case, we are suing policemen. We are suing former commanders, OCSS in Kisumu, the ones who killed protesters. They even clobbered Baby Pendo, a 2-month-old baby in her coat, baby coat. They killed that baby. Today we are in court. I've looked at all those policemen in the eye. I've seen the fright in their faces. They are being charged for crimes against humanity. They are being charged under the International Crimes Act. And their charging has been approved by the DPP. Those people are now crying in the Constitutional Court, asking, pleading not to be allowed to take plea. So even to Kome, even to Bungei, when you are deploying police and you're encouraging the killing of Kenyans, please note, when the time comes for you to answer for that, William Ruto, Kimani Ichung'wah, Ndindi Nyoro, or whoever you think is now sending you to do these things or is protecting you will not be there. You will carry your cross alone. Yebei is in court crying today over Baby Pendo. He is facing his day to answer to those charges. And we must document all these atrocities. The beauty is that criminal law, there is no limitation of action. I can sue you today, I can sue you tomorrow, I can even sue you 10 years today, even 30 years today. I can even wait for you to retire before I take you to court. And you will be called to answer to these charges. So anybody who's listening to me, if you come across any police atrocity, any misconduct by a unit sent, just collect the evidence. They may have the gun today, they may have the power today, but tomorrow they will not be holding that office. They will be called to account. And we must use all avenues available. I know there's a team of Kenyans who've even thought of going to the ICC so that the states can open an inquiry into Kenya. Because what we witnessed, this is not police controlling riots or demonstrations. This is a case where somebody has issued an order to the police to go out to civilian population and to exterminate them. When you have men wearing balaclavas and running around in a double cabin pickup, and they're covering their faces, carrying assault weapons. That is a death squad. That is no longer about controlling crowds. That's no longer about providing police. And those are issues that we must take up to either our local courts or even higher courts. And we must push to the end. We cannot at any point, even me if I fall down and die today, this movement that the people of Kenya have started is bigger than me. It is bigger than William Ruto. It is bigger than Gachagua. It is bigger than anybody who has occupied this political space or anybody who has ever represented the people of Kenya. We must now give the people the right to determine their destiny. And that opportunity is here. Thank you very much, Amerix and the host. Unless there's any question, I'll hand over back the mic. Thank you.
All right. I have learned a lot. Thank you very much, Wakili, for that. I want to bring in, Salasia, we don't allow politicians to speak here because politicians have destroyed our country. Politicians have polluted our society. And you have requested me, you said you have something very important you want to say. And I listened to you because you voted no during when the finance bill came to the house of the floor of the parliament. Can you speak, Peter?
Asante. Kwanza, let me just begin by saying thanks for the platform that you have created. Indeed, when I just started listening from the word go, when you gave your remarks, I was so much impressed because you touched somewhere whereby there is a mess. We have been just trying to talk, but there is a place that where Amerix you touched so deep. And this is where we need now to go. And this is the time. Because number one, all these problems that we are facing, it is because of we have lacked a parliament that is vibrant, a parliament that can hold executive on serious oversight. Because when the constitution was made, maybe I'm not good a historian, but you're all aware that we have 3 arms of government, and each arm has its own roles. And I remember when we met with the president as young parliamentarian, he told us that the young leaders when young parliamentarians some time back, that we should legislate. Our work is to legislate. But so surprisingly, you find like if there is a controversial bill that has to go through, you will find like the members you meet with, like you remember last time we had people like Narama, they had made a deliberation position that I'm going to vote no. But the moment these guys, they are called in the parliament, in the state house, when they come back from the state house, everything has changed. And that is why there is a point where you say that we need a referendum, a constitutional referendum, whereby we can separate the presidency. We cannot have a parliament that is an extended hand of an executive. Recently, you saw what had just happened as a procedure of the House. We never have, we're not used to have, we always have the House business. Tuesday afternoon, then Wednesday from morning to evening, and then Thursday from 2 onwards. But if we want to have a sitting on Thursday morning, there is always a mover, and then we deliberate, and then we agree that the House is going to sit the following day. But it was very unprocedural that even most of us, we were not aware that we are going to have a sitting on that particular Thursday morning. But just because somebody has received instruction from the State House that we need to get the issue of the military, that now they have to pass it in the House, whether the opposition are there. So in the morning around 3, around 2, around 8 is when they are sending us message that we need to be in the House, when they have already themselves have been mobilized. There's this issue also they come up with, that the executive can even spend money, some money without the approval of the House that is outside the budget, and just because they receive the instruction from another arm. There is another one that the government can go ahead and borrow money even without there's a figure, without even notifying external borrowing, without notifying even the parliament. So you note that there is a problem, and this problem must be sorted out. There is no independence in the parliament, and that is why I just asked Amerix to request me to come in so that I can also explore, because we are there, like with the first time MP. Sometimes you will ask yourself, why are we not even be able to speak in the House? There are those, like there's one who say that there are those who they have stayed there, so they call them. That's why he told when I was going that I cannot be monolized here. I cannot be monolized whatever, and then I come here again, because there are those who call themselves veterans. So you have a burning issue, but to get a point to speak, and then it becomes another hell. And then there is this what you call the patronage of the parties, like parties, and that is where now we have to converse. That is where we have to speak about. Why is it that these members of parliament, like the opposition, this is not about only the government side, but even on the opposition. Even me, at one point, I was removed from a departmental committee just because of, I don't know, even I don't understand. And you ask myself, why did you? But it's because of some politics that was just happening. And then you also realize that even those who are in the Kenya Kwanza, they'll be told that you have to follow this direction. If not, you're going to be removed from the committees. So that is where we need also to have a conversation. Who gives the powers to nominate members into specific committees? And I want to also thank the LSK. And I was so much worried. I remember even I told I was worried if Faith Adhiambo will accept the welcome to full Kenyans, that they are trying to look at an inquiry commission to look at the issue to do with the debt position of this country. And I want to tell you that there is a report that was done, and this report was done there is a committee that is there. It's a select committee called the Public Debt Committee, that is mandated to look at the debts of a country. So when I heard about the president talking about that, he's forming an inquiry commission, when I've never heard about. Yes.
Go on.
Yes. When I heard about him saying that he has formed an inquiry commission to go and look at this, that when we we already have a report that implicated that the Eurobond money never came into this country, and people were paid, by the way, were paid. And so, again, what is really, that's why for those who have heard me speaking even on public rallies, in public, I ask myself a question. I'm not a good historian, but in 2013, I wasn't so much into politics. I was still in school. And I used to hear people like Thuge, where the Kamau Thuge were the PS of the finance by that time, very powerful PS. We had people like Narotichu were there, Henry Rotichu were the CS of finance. We had people like Njuguna Ndungu, who was the central governor of the central bank. And so the same people, when the money from the Eurobond got lost, are the same people that have been rewarded these jobs as the economic advisors. They are the same people that now they are holding bigger positions in terms of holding the finances of this country. You ask yourself, there is what you call the Auditor General, and we also have the board of that governs the Central Bank of Kenya. Ask yourself, who is auditing the central bank? And that is being run by few people, but now the auditor cannot even audit the central bank, and yet that is the work. So those are the things that I think as the highlights of this, because this nation lies in your hands, and I'm happy that you have studied the dynamics of the politics of this country. That if we come and raise one person, say that this is our leader, then this person is going to suffer, will be under intimidation, will be bribing, will be all sorts of manner of, so that to make sure that the movement dies at a go. So when you, and that is why I want all of you to remain with that slogan. And I'm happy that most of the members, you are mark timing each member. And I'm happy when Boniface Menguwen was trying to do, you are able to bring him on board and tells him this is the direction that we want. I've heard about people like Robert Alai, being called on order. You have to make a position. You don't need to have someone to come and discourage the people, because these people, they're and again, you remember the last Finance Act of the Finance Bill, or the Finance Act of 2023. In the House, there is what you call the Business House Committee. The Business House Committee is the one that is mandated to give members on the business that are going to come into the House to be discussed. It is so much unfortunate that even it is unpredictable. If someone wants to pin you down, they will tell you that we are going to vote. Like last time, we have not been notified. Like, we knew voting is going to be next week, but our leader, who is there, has not communicated to us, telling us that now there's going to be voting on this particular time and day and time, so that don't go away. So you just find at the moment the voting starts, and that is why finally in 2023 Finance Act, most of the people were in the House, but they never voted, because walikuja wanafunga mlango, and that is it. So I just wanted to highlight those issues, so that at least it can also give you direction as you, but this is the time for you to call upon the referendum and fix some of the things that you are seeing. Because look at the last thing that I just want to tell you, and I'm happy that this is the thing. I'm in the Committee of Agriculture. When I'm in this Committee of Agriculture, we were mandated to have a report, and we worked in all the cereals board in this country, trying to look at the facts that whether there was on the issues of the fertilizer, and indeed the report that we came up with, that there was a mess. The soil that were being sold to the Kenyans, the issue of the scandal of fertilizer. So when we brought this report on the Parliament, they just put it that side. No one used it. And then these people are working scot-free. So thank you so much for bringing on board us.
Thank you very much. But I want to put it to you that the entire nation is so disappointed with the House. The entire nation is so angry with the Parliament. And the only thing the nation wants right now is that Parliament should be recalled, the whole of it. That Parliament is a mess. Because from what you've told us, it's like Parliament is now like business. It's like a market. You know, the person, the one you can buy is the one that will pass those bills. So we want that Parliament to go home. It should be dissolved, all of it. We don't want it. And if they continue staying there, these young men will come back for them. And they will now remove them forcefully from those seats. So go and tell your members or your colleagues that we are so disappointed. We do not want anything to do with them. Degwanjiru. Habari yako.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you very much, all the participants. I have keenly followed the debate since we began, and I have heard the encouragement that we are more focused than ever to make sure that we redeem this country, that we reclaim this country, that we rebuild this country. And the process of reclaiming and redeeming this country and rebuilding it requires a lot of self-sacrifice. It requires a lot of commitment. It requires a lot of gathering than scattering. It is therefore my appeal that during this very dire session that we have engaged ourselves in, that we try to gather as much as we can and scatter less as we can. Because all of us at this particular time, everybody matters to us. And now, moving forward, I have listened to my learned senior, Mr. Willis' submissions. I have also heard the sentiments of the host about the question of parliament. We have, I've heard the submissions about the question of the IBC, the public debts, and all those. I'll tackle each at a time. I would begin perhaps by tackling the question of the IBC and where we are at the moment. And what are we waiting for? Constitutionally, at the lapse of 14 days, whether William Ruto decides to sign to assent to the bill or not, the bill will become effective and will become law. But upon becoming law, how then do we move on, and how is a bill proposing to constitute the IBC? And that is where we should be focused at or on. I submit that when you look at the bill, they changed the criteria of constituting the IBC, and they proposed that the constitution of the panel that will select the commissioners. They said, one, the political parties will have serious role in participating in the manner in which the commissioners will be selected. For example, the political party liaison committee, which is a liaison committee that is constituted of all the registered political party in this country, notwithstanding whether those political parties have complied with the Political Parties Act or not, they were granted an opportunity to appoint 3 representatives who will sit in the panel to select the commissioners. Kenya Kwanza was equally given 2 slots to select the commissioners. Azimio was equally given 2 slots. 1 slot, I think, is going to the public, members of the public. But the question is, this is a very important panel that will reconstitute the IBC. We are in this mess because the IBC decided to ramble down our elections. The IBC decided to take the direction they took. So are we waiting and are we watching the country taking the same route of constituting an IBC that perhaps may not have the integrity that is required to oversee a secure, a fair, a free and fair elections? I am calling upon you, brothers and sisters, that we focus on these particular panels. The panel is the one that is mandated to appoint the IBC commissioners. Who will sit in those particular panels? Who will sit there? Because the person of who sits determines how the election will be conducted in the future. Equally, it will also determine whether or not the commissioners that we shall be constituted will be people of integrity, people who meet chapter 6 of the Constitution. That is to mean, even if we were to say that we are now beginning to recall our members of parliament, again, the IBC which is the commissioners, will play a major role. So I am calling upon you to be on watch and on the outlook as to which individuals will sit in those particular in that particular panel for selecting the IBC. Number two, on the question of parliament. Yes, it is true. Parliament has failed this country. It is true Parliament is an extension of the executive. It is true that Parliament is a moribund. In fact, Baba keeps on saying ni hanisi. But the question is, strategically, what should we focus on first? Should we focus on the ineptness of Parliament, or should we focus on making sure that William Ruto goes? And then if we are therefore to look at those two dynamics, if we are to say that William Ruto must go, one, by way of resignation, if you look at Article 146, which calls or which speak about the resignation of Parliament, it is constitutionally incumbent that a resignation of a president cannot be tendered in the absence of Parliament, because the Constitution says that it is the Speaker of the National Assembly who shall receive that resignation in the event it arises. I do not see in my own thinking William Ruto ever tendering his resignation. Ako na kichwa ngumu sana, huyo mtu hawezi resign. So the question of resignation is almost a tall order for us to keep on pushing on it. But the other question is, do we have other constitutional tools that are available in the constitution that we can roll into motion to make sure that William Ruto does not get to 2027? Because that is our issue. I submit that yes, we have a constitutional tool that the people can use, and it is a tool of impeachment. If we are to say we shall apply the tool of impeachment to take William Ruto home, whom or who shall participate in this process of impeachment? Again, it is Parliament. Parliament plays the major role. It becomes the playing ground where this impeachment will be manifested. So you realize that if we focus on Parliament and we focus on William Ruto, then we shall be losing the battleground in those two fronts. In my view, Parliament as it is currently can be redeemed. And it can be redeemed from William Ruto by applying a lot of pressure on them to make sure that they were elected for purposes of representation of the people and not to represent William Ruto. I have seen a lot of I've seen a lot of serious paradigm shift from the members of Parliament, from how they behaved when the bill was in Parliament, how they behaved when they passed the bill, and how they have now behaved when William Ruto declined to assent to the bill. They are actually apologetic. I have also seen a paradigm shift because ya history ya kusalimiwa kila wakati. So it looks like if Parliament is pushed to a corner, it looks like they can take a route. They can take a turn and start supporting the people. That is to mean, therefore, if we are to take the tool of impeachment as a tool of making sure that William Ruto does not get to 2027, as a means of dislodging William Ruto, Parliament becomes an integral player, and we can make sure that we push them the way we pushed the finance bill, so that they may then vote with the people. That will also give some impetus and some vocal point to the revolution. Remember, the revolution is fizzling out because we do not have a vocal point. We do not have something mali tunalenga sisi wote. When the revolution was high and up in arms and in high spirits, we were all focused on the action of Parliament in respect to the finance bill. If we give Parliament another burden of impeaching William Ruto, it means that it is going to rekindle the spirit of the revolution, and the people will start focusing on the question of impeaching William Ruto. We will go to the streets saying impeach, impeach. We will go to occupy Parliament again to tell them you must impeach William Ruto this time round. So that becomes, in my view, another way of rejuvenating the spirit of the revolution. The final one is where we are saying that number one, the resignation has failed, number two, impeachment has failed. Then we go to factory setting, we go to the second Tuesday of August 2027, where we are saying then William Ruto will go out by the way of the ballot. Then the question is, are we then prepared for the ballot? That is to mean if option one, resignation fails, option two, impeachment fails, we go to the constitutional tool of the elections. How have we prepared our people for option three? Where option three will be the climatization of the entire revolution and the manifestation of the results of the revolution. In my view, I do not think that we are taking proper actions and proper steps towards preparing ourselves for the 2027 elections. In my view, we need to make sure that people get the most crucial tool of making them ready for 2027, and that is the national identity card. The national identity card is the key to the warehouse that will send William Ruto home. How many Gen Zs have registered as a citizen of the Republic of Kenya? The other question is, do we have the facilities that are capable of producing all the IDs that are pending between today and 2027? And don't you think William Ruto will sabotage our revolution by making sure that the facilities are not available? I am proposing that we devolve the process of registration of the people to the counties or to the most minute level that people can easily and expeditiously get registered. That is to mean the equipment that generates the IDs must be removed from Nyayo House, be taken to where people can easily collect them. It should be our priority to push that IDs be issued as many as we can. But again, that William Ruto will sabotage because he knows that is a tool that he cannot evade. The other question is, when you look at the question of the Election Act and the role of the people requirement to register as a voter, I was asking myself today, how many things am I able to do as a Kenyan on the face or the fact of just holding an identity card? If I have an ID, I can get a visa. If I have an ID, I can withdraw M-Pesa. If I have an ID, I can do a lot of things. Why is it so difficult and why is it a requirement that for me to vote, I must be registered? I must have a vote. I must have. There must be a rigorous process which must be rolled in a clandestine manner for me to be able to vote. What is the role of the ID? Why can't I just go and vote? Why can't the register be generated on that basis? That if you have an ID, you are registered to vote. Those are some of the things that we might think and might impact or call for the amendment of the entire electoral laws. We have made various proposals in that respect about the question of how the elections can be expedited and how everybody can be involved in the process of the elections. As I sum up, I've had the latter speaker, the member Silasia, speak about a referendum. In my view, we are not yet ready for that. If we say that we want to take the country to a referendum, we'll be losing our eyes from the ball. We'll not be able to keep the eyes on the ball. The eyes on the ball is the fate this country is where William has taken this country. We must fix William Ruto if we want to fix the country. If you want to fix the economy of this country, fix William Ruto. If you want to fix the education system of this country, fix William Ruto. If you want to fix the agricultural sector of this country, fix William Ruto. If you want to fix the transport industry, fix William Ruto. If you want to fix the manufacturing industry, fix William Ruto. William is the problem that this country has. It's a cancer that is ailing this country. And therefore, at the moment, our focus should be, how do we get William Ruto out of office? We have, in the past, been able to put a spirited fight in court, if I may report. For example, there's a pending matter that is before the court today about the finance bill and about the participation of the IMF. We have gone to court asking the Treasury not to sign any further agreement, either with the IMF or with the World Bank. That matter was reported in the Standard today. I am actually the petitioner, the Mount Kenya jurist, which the chairman is also the petitioner, another group of advocates. So we are saying that we should be able to push for change from our own perspective and from where we are. For example, Willis has made very, very, very able submissions in respect to the extermination of young people by the police. We must be able to tell the country that we have other international instruments that can be able to address the kind of the extermination that the country is doing to the young people in the absence of a domestic remedy. That is to mean, and I echo his words, that we must be able to collect all this evidence. And we must be able to give them a periodic ultimatum that if you will not have prosecuted or charged these guys who are responsible for this within a specific period of time, then we shall be able to put into motion other international instruments. As at now, we should have actually written a letter to the ICC informing them of the situation that is unfolding in the Republic of Kenya, so that these guys understand that we are not just depending on the IPOA or depending on the DPP or depending on the DCI to investigate. The world has become a global stage, so that they understand that in the absence of your investigation, we have other international instruments playing that role. I agree with Willis that when a police officer retires, haidangi nyumbani na hizo bunduki, anaenda kivyake, and we shall go for them where they shall be at the time at the time when these processes shall be unfolding. In my final submission, it is true that if you took a debt and the debt was registered in our books, and the data is not reflected in this country anywhere in either project, then you should be prima facie liable for that particular debt. The country should not be made to carry the burden of those individuals who enriched themselves with our public money. The moment you go and take a debt to enrich yourself, you have breached the social contract between myself and yourself. That is to mean the liabilities that accrues therefrom from that particular debt are accrues to you as an individual and not to us as a nation. And finally, what is this William is saying? That is appointing a task force to review the debts. What was he paying? Hasn't he told us that he has been paying debts? Kwani amekuwa akilipa nini? Has he been paying things that he does not understand, and things that he does not know? So in my view, huyu jamaa anatuchezea. We should keep the fire burning. We need to move on. We need to fix William Ruto, and we need to make sure that he understands the question of the sovereignty of the people. The sovereignty of the people is supreme, and that is why we're able to address you at this particular time freely. The moment we dim this light, the moment we fail to support the movement of the revolution, I think the revolution will fizzle out. The young people will get fatigued, and then they will lose the cause. So we must also begin to call other people who are not directly involved in the revolution to also take part by ghost laws. We need even to have strategies of serious economic sabotage. If we know that unauzanga mayai na hii mayai yako inakujanga hii supermarket fulani, we should be able to have a strategy of economic sabotage. It worked very well in America during the civil rights movements. People boycotted, and the effect was felt. If we know a company that sells particular kama ni soda inauzanga, na wewe umetoka huko America na umepewa debt yako na unasupport huyu jamaa, we should be able to say don't take that soda. Why should we not be able to say, ile siku nyingine alikuwa huko nilisikia alipewa sijui mapesa zingine za kampani zingine hapo, sitaki kuzitaja saa hizi mimi, lakini hizo kampuni tunazijua. It means they are supporting him. Why should we continue supporting their products to support a tyranny or to support a dictator who is sabotaging our economy? So those strategies of economic sabotage should be applied so that they also feel the pain and so that we may share this pain equally. I'm so humbled for the time granted to me to make my humble submissions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wakili. Asante sana. That one needs some break. I mean, I've learned a lot of things about your submission. We are a country that is carrying debt that we don't know what it is paying for, who borrowed the debt, and why. Someone asked me the other day that the government is not creating jobs. The government does not create jobs. The government creates an enabling environment for you to create a job. Kazi ya serikali ni kukupatia environment poa ndio ufanye kazi. Serikali ikiandika daktari, haija create kazi ya daktari. Imeandika huyo daktari asaidie serikali ku create enabling environment ya mtu kufanya kazi. So that ukikuwa mgonjwa ukifanya kazi, unaenda kwa hospitali ya serikali, unatibiwa, ndio urudi ufanye kazi. Ukifanya kazi unakuwa productive, then the government comes and tells you, ulienda kwa hospitali yetu, hebu lipa hii tax. Essentially, haufai kulipa pesa kwa hospitali kwa sababu unalipa tax. So kazi ya serikali ni kukupatia the right environment ya wewe kufanya kazi. And when you work, that's when you create a job. For example, kama wewe ni engineer, that is your work. Uko na skill ya engineering. So una create kampuni yako ya kutengeneza bridge. So kwa hiyo kampuni yako utaandika watu, au watu umewapatia job. So your work has created a job. So serikali kazi yake ni ku-create environment ndio wewe ufanye nini? Thrive, ukwe productive. So when you are productive, ndio serikali inakuja nasema, jo hapo umekuwa productive, hebu nipatie hata 10%. Lakini tuko na serikali yenye inakuitisha 10% hata kama hujakuwa productive. So serikali kama hiyo tunaita predatory government. It is like a predator, ni kama vampire. Aioni ukifanya kazi, uko nyumbani umekaa. Lakini inakuambia file returns. How do you file returns na unataka kazi? Inakuambia file nil returns. Sasa walikuwa wamefika ile level ya wanataka kuangalia kwa M-Pesa yako. Mimi nimekuja kwa inbox yangu, umesema umelala njaa. Nimekutumia 200 ili ujisupport. Wanaingia kwa M-Pesa yako wanasema ulipata 200. So kwa hiyo 200 tupatie shilingi 20. Usipopeana hiyo shilingi 20 by 30th of June, wanakufungulia mashtaka. Ile siku utapata job, unaletewa barua unasema haukulipa tax miaka fulani na tunakuitisha penalty ya 80,000. That is predatory government. And we must stand up against this predatory behavior ya serikali yenye tuko nayo saa hii. We must stand. That's why wakili amesema we keep the fire burning. Na kuna strategies mingi. Kuna watu wata protest, kuna watu huko nje, kuna watu wata raise heat hapa kwa digital platforms, kuna watu wata boycott, kuna watu watakuwa na slow inatoja wata go slow. Kesho madaktari wanaenda MOH. It's part of the revolution. Si ati mna separate mnasema hao ni madaktari. Madaktari wanaenda MOH kesho Afya House. Inafaa wale wenye watakuwa waende wa support. That is just putting the pressure. Na aim ya madaktari ni moja. Ni kupoke holes kwa hiyo cabinet, kwa sababu hiyo cabinet iko na watu filthy. Jana mwana cabinet secretary fulani ameshikwa huko na bibi ya mtu, amepigwa mangumi. How can a whole cabinet secretary, ule ambaye anabeba value ya country yetu, unapatikana kwa hoteli na bibi ya mtu, unapigwa mangume huko na unaibishwa huko? So it is not true that the president is saying ati cabinet yake ni safi. It is dirty, and I think this is the worst cabinet secretary in the cabinet office in the history of this country. Hata ya Moi haikuwa mbaya hivyo ya 1990. So Tontenas, you said you want to sing something. Can you sing something as we take a cup of water, a glass of water, and then we come back?
Yes, sir. I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Introduce yourself.
Yes, we can.
You are a young man. You're a Gen Z. How is the music?
I'm not a Gen Z per se. I'm a millennial.
All right.
Yeah, my name is Alan Shioso, but you can simply call me Shio. That's easy.
Yes.
I'm a performing artist under this entity called Tontenas Entertainment.
All right.
And basically, I do advocacy through performing art. That is playwriting, acting, directing, music directing, and singing.
All right.
So today I'll do an original piece.
Before you go to the original piece, how is the environment? Is the government giving you a good environment to escalate your talent?
Not really per se, because as an artist, I believe change can only come through structures.
Yes.
And so far, we don't have structures. Even when we try to put up suggestions, they are not being like followed to the core. So I believe the best way is having structures that will elevate the creative economy.
All right.
And so that artists can be sustainable. And I'm on course doing that under Kenya Cultural Center, incorporating Kenya National Theatre. And I hope for starters, this blueprint that I'm trying to put across will make sense, because my passion is creating a sustainable environment for the creative economy. Because as a practitioner in the theatre space, as a performer, it's really hard. At the moment, since even since COVID came in, it has been worse. But we keep on pushing. Yes.
All right. What about Talantahela? There's something called Talantahela.
Talantahela, from my point of view, I've only seen its impact on the awarding of thespians under Kenya Theatre Awards. So far, that is what I've seen. But from my point of view, I feel awarding theaters at an accolade point of view is not really sustainable. We need programs under the Kenya Cultural Center, for example, for the thespians, that have structure that can be funded and bring artists on board, so that we shape their talents according to art and culture in this country. And in the same way, I believe art and culture is not more of tribe. We can commercialize our ethnicities positively, and create a unity of purpose.
Right. Go on, take it over.
Yeah, so this is a rendition of an original on YouTube called Loudest, basically being vocal on matters social, political, and economic matters. But I'll do the vocal part of it. There is the original piece is incorporated with other artists, and it's more of pop and street sound. So stay tuned for Sema Tena. Tunasakanya kado wanatuibia, tunapigania wax wanatukazia, wanadai tuko free wametukalia, pesa zilingia bank zikadisapia, mwananchi yuko njaa mwenyekiti amekaa akisinzia Parliament. Ufisadi umejaa wa maombi wamekaa wakingojea ka sacrament. So potelea pote kama chwani kwa mkono ya polisi traffic. Jam ni kokote una haki kwa mikono ya polisi culprit. Hey, kula mali ya umma kwa ofisi. Tai juu ya kitambi ni ofisi. Tunashika tunachoma mwizi. Kumbe kuna mwingine kwa ofisi. Mlishasema ni wakati wa kutenda. 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 Unapenda mnene juu anakupa vinene, miaka 5 mitini juu utamona kwa teli, kuongeza madeni mifuko ndefu karele, mpeleke kotini atatoka na deni, jukani kesi hakuna za wadosi, nimewadadisi amnaga mikosi. Mnaiba mnasema ni mokozi, wananchi wakiteta mnawaita mapolisi. Yo sanseni samesi unajua ni usanii tu, sanseni samesi unajua ni kuimba tu. Usinifinye hapo, usinifinye hapo. Mlishasema ni wakati wa kutenda. 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 Thank you.
Thank you very much. Where are you? Where's your studio? Where can people get you? Because your songs sound to be revolution songs. And I'm sure as we go on with this revolution, we want more of these songs. Where can we get you?
On social media or the physical studio?
Physical studio.
Physical studio, currently we are at Kitengela.
Yes.
Chairman Road behind Eastmart.
All right.
Yeah, that is where the basic, like the physical studio is. But on social media platforms, you can find us on Tontenas, and we occasionally hold shows at Kenya National Theatre.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can we have Milton? Milton?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Amerix.
Yes.
I'm so happy that you decided to host this. You know, so many people didn't know the guy who actually started this movement. They've been really searching. And even your followers, most of them didn't realize when this thing started. Because it was deep. Someone once posted a speech of President Uhuru some time back. Many didn't understand it. And someone said that hii ni watu wenye wamepata B- kwenda juu, wengine wangoje bloggers wawa explainie. So in the, like on this conversation, the first thing